Let's move on, though, into our 6 through, not 15, I'm thinking big board, our 6 through, it's not even 6, it's 11 right? Through 21.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, like, here's what I told Brandon at the Primetime Podcast. I have so many things running through my head. Like I said, NFL for our NBA big board, this week is going to be crazy for me. Had an NBA big board. We're doing an NFL mock draft. Yep. This weekend, I got an NBA mock draft. Then I've got more mock drafts for NFL. I am in full draft mode, and I don't even know what sport I'm talking about half the time. But 11 through 21 is what we're looking at now. Before we get into everything, take us through your picks, starting at the Dolphins at 11.
So Dolphins at 11, I'm going to go with Josh Allen, quarterback out of Wyoming. The Bills, Baker Mayfield, quarterback out of Oklahoma. The Redskins, Roquan Smith, linebacker out of Georgia. Then we're going to go with the Packers at 14. Derwin James, the safety, Florida State. Mike McGlinchey to the 15 Cardinals. The offensive tackle out of Notre Dame. Rashaan Evans, inside linebacker, Alabama. Going to the Ravens at 16. 17, the Chargers. Brian O'Neill, offensive tackle out of Pitt. 18, the Seahawks going to Orlando Brown, the tackle out of Oklahoma. 19 is the Cowboys with Vita Vea, defensive tackle out of Washington. 20, Darius Geis, running back out of LSU. And then, of course, one of my favorite names to say, 21, the Bengals, Leighton Vander Esch, linebacker, Boise State, the Smurf Turf.
I really like saying that name. That's one that I've crept up into mine because I just love his name so much. But looking at mine, we'll start with those Dolphins 11 going Josh Rosen, quarterback out of UCLA. Then the Bills going Josh Jackson, the ball hawk and cornerback, almost said safety, the cornerback from the Iowa Hawkeyes. Then the Redskins going Vita Vea, the defensive tackle from Washington. Packers, it's not a need for them, but they're going to go with the defensive end out of Texas San Antonio, Marcus Davenport. Cardinals going quarterback Lamar Action Jackson out of Louisville. The Ravens go inside linebacker Rashaan Evans out of Alabama. Chargers get a gift at 17 with Derwin James, the safety from Florida State. Then the Seahawks go an offensive tackle, Colton Miller, the tackle from UCLA. Then the Cowboys going Cortland Sutton, wide receiver out of SMU. Lions going Harold Landry, the edge rusher from Boston College. And then the Bengals at 21 going with Leighton Vander Esch, the linebacker from the Smurf Turf with the Broncos. We agree on that one, Mark. Yeah. But I'm going to throw you a curveball here at the beginning of this because we had this is who we're going to talk about, but this is one we didn't say we were going to talk about. Mm-hmm. We talked about him last week, but there was something I heard today while Joel Klatt was on the Herd with Colin Cowherd. They were talking about our boy Josh Rosen. Yeah. And I say our boy because
everybody's least favorite quarterback, evidently.
Because we just talked about him last week, and my offer is still out there to Josh Rosen. If he wants to come on the show, he's welcome anytime. But the whole thing that Joel Klatt was saying is he called Josh Rosen a walking contradiction. And the main reason, the quote that they showed on the screen during it was about his family's wealth when he said, my family isn't like stupid wealthy, but I'm coming from a place where if football doesn't work out, I don't have to work at McDonald's. Other NFL players had the same opportunity. I just haven't tried to hide it or fool teams into thinking I'm someone I'm not. And two of the things that Joel Klatt harped on was the first one, he kind of made comments to where it's like, oh, well, I'm all about the team, but then was like, made it seem like he was individual. So it's like you're contradicting yourself. And the big one that he said was the way he said something in the past, like with the Trump hat and using the F word. He's like, oh, well, you know, I shouldn't have done that, shouldn't have spoke like that. But then seconds later, moments later in the same interview, used the F word. So he's like, you're kind of contradicting yourself here.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this? The newest thing in Josh Rosen.
This is not actually what I thought you were going to bring up about Josh Rosen.
No, because the thing that he also said was, it was some article that they were talking about. Joel Klatt said this was the worst interview for Josh Rosen to do, not because it gives you any new insight on Josh Rosen. It just makes you, if you watch the interview and liked it, all right, you like Josh Rosen. if you watched the interview and hated it, all right, you hate Josh Rosen. It just cements that divide.
I feel like there was, and I don't remember who it was. I tried to look it up really quickly, but I didn't see. Because there was somebody out there or some interview, somebody said something along the lines of Josh Rosen doesn't love the game of football.
Yes.
And
I've heard that before.
He's come out and he said just very recently that, his quote was, "I don't love the game, really. Blah, blah, blah. If I didn't love the game, I wouldn't be out here getting my ass kicked." Which I like that. That is a very real response. My thing about Josh Rosen is I feel like a lot of times he's trying to be what he thinks he should. And I think it's an unfair thing.
It's the one with ESPN, the one that came out yesterday. The one that was like, Josh Rosen takes on the NFL and his critics.
Right? I feel it's kind of unfair with Josh Rosen. When it comes to Josh Allen, what are people talking about? Oh, he's got a cannon arm. When it comes to Darnold, what are people talking about? Honestly, really nothing. When it comes to Baker Mayfield, it was, he's gotten criticized, but he's got a chip on his shoulder. When it comes to Josh Rosen, it basically comes down to this. Fuck that rich kid. That's really all it is.
Well, and I found what it was. I found the thing that was the big contradiction was like the first question was ESPN, the magazine said, soon you'll be an NFL quarterback. How does that sound? And Josh Rosen goes, it's a dream, always has been. It's a loaded term. NFL quarterback, face of a franchise. What does it mean? And it kind of like early on, he's like, it's about the team. But then later on, I want to win X amount of Super Bowls. So it's like, are you for the team? Are you an individual guy?
Yeah. And there was one of those things,
because
too.
You're saying two different things.
Where I forgot what prompted it, where he basically was talking about how, he's saying he's going to be better than Aaron Rodgers. He's going to be better than Tom Brady.
Yeah, he's going to have 6 or 7 titles.
Yeah, and a lot of that is because people are really kind of forcing him to do these things because no matter what he says, he keeps losing. That's what it comes down to. No matter what he does or what he says, people find the criticism.
It's right here. They asked, who's the best quarterback in the draft? And he says, I'm the best QB in the draft. A lot of guys are flashier, but I think I'm the most efficient, methodical, consistent quarterback in the draft. Rodgers has some flair, but if you watch Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, there's nothing that's explosive and Johnny Manziel-like. It's just quarterbacking.
Yeah. I just feel like, here's my thing with Josh Rosen, and I feel like now that Jay Cutler is out of the league, Josh Rosen is destined to be the next Jay Cutler. The guy that no matter what, people hate him. For no reason at all.
I could see it.
They just don't like the kid.
Which is funny because today Kyle heard about Josh Allen and Sam Darnold did his high level, low level.
Yeah.
And for Josh Allen, he said his ceiling is Jay Cutler.
Josh Allen or Josh Rosen?
Allen.
Okay.
With an A.
Interesting.
Said that his ceiling is Jay Cutler, which I was like, I don't really see it.
Yeah, I feel like if you're saying his ceiling
just saying,
is Jay
they
Cutler,
both have big arms.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. It's just saying this guy had a big arm. This guy has a big arm. All right. But, I really just feel like Josh Rosen is just getting very kind of unfair. Like, people just want to hate the guy for no real reason. I mean, if you need a guy to come in day one and start, Josh Rosen is the best quarterback to do that. He is the most ready to start day one.
He is.
But the problem is people just don't like him.
Well, and that's the thing. Like,
I don't know if it's because he's rich. People want to do this whole millennial thing, which is hilarious because everybody in this draft
is a millennial.
Is either a millennial or arguably no longer a millennial. There's a lot of people in this draft that are not actually millennials anymore. But, it's just one of these things where he's just the guy that people chose to hate.
And this was one, like I said, threw a curveball at you. I just wanted to get your thoughts on it because I heard it today.
I was thinking about those quotes, the loving football thing.
I just heard it today, and it's like it hit me where it's a fact of I can see how this could be a problem for your draft stock. And for me, you had him in the top 10.
Yeah.
This is kind of a reason why I have Baker Mayfield as my 3rd and him as my 4th because Baker, you don't have those questions. Baker's got the chip on his shoulder.
I think there was... maybe I shouldn't say this because I don't remember if this was the quarterback they were talking about, but I'm pretty... No, I'm sorry. It wasn't him. It was Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
Where an NFL was it SportsCenter or First Take or something like that, where it was on in the background, and they're saying that there was an NFL exec who said, when it asked about Baker Mayfield, one of them said, I absolutely love the kid. He is great.
Yeah.
The next ones went out and said, I hate that guy. And it's just those polar opposites.
It's the same thing with Josh Rosen, though.
Exactly.
Too.
Exactly. People are loving him or hating him. And it's funny to me because, very talented quarterback. If he falls like this, it can be good. Nobody got mad at Andrew Luck for having rich parents.
No.
They're getting mad at Josh Rosen. I just think it's interesting.
Well, Andrew Luck wasn't the same way as Josh Rosen.
He wasn't, but I really don't think that Josh Rosen, besides the Cleveland comment.
Every single interview with Andrew Luck was, holy shit, he's got a deep voice. But it was nothing like,
right.
What the fuck did that guy just say?
Everything that Andrew Luck ever says is very much like, yeah, he's your classic
the kindest
Peyton Manning
guy in the NFL, too. Hey, good tackle number 82. Wow, that was a good hit.
Right? If you had Josh Rosen doing the same thing, people would be like, that sarcastic bastard.
Yeah, but the thing I really wanted to get into with Josh Rosen was the Dolphins.
Yep.
We both have them going quarterback.
Yeah.
Are they going to go, we think they should go quarterback because it's probably going to be the best thing available at 11. Will they go quarterback?
I really don't feel like when it comes down to it, I think they are considering it. Because I think that...
Because Ryan Tannehill was hurt last year.
He was hurt last year, and when he's there, he's not amazing.
Is Ryan Tannehill Gase's guy, too?
Yeah, he is a guy who gets paid a lot of money, but really hasn't lived up to his potential. And he's not old, but he's not necessarily young.
He's no spring chicken.
He should be in that kind of prime of your quarterback's career at this point. I mean, quarterbacks will really start to... Most people say when they're about 26, 27... maybe even 28. This is the prime until they're about
29.
30. So he should be in the thick of that. And it's really not happening. So the Dolphins, I think, do need to move on. And I think a guy like Gase is going to sit there and say, yeah, I've been here for a little bit now. And
he's actually going to be 30 in July.
There you go. He's older than I thought he was.
Yeah. Well, he was a 2012 draftee.
Man, it's been a long time. But I just think Gase is going to sit there and say, I've been here for a while. We haven't had that much success. It might be time that I make a press for somebody else because maybe that'll buy me some time.
Yeah, having a new quarterback to kind of groom and say, hey, well, I got to groom this guy.
Maybe this will keep me from getting fired.
And for me, if Josh Rosen's there, I don't care about the character issues at 11. Yeah. You take him because he's pro ready. But I mean, that's something that I was like, early on, if you look at my mock drafts, 1 through it, it's like you got the Dolphins going with, I had them go inside linebacker. Then with the second one, I had them go with Quentin Nelson at the time, the guard. Then it's like, ooh, they're going to go linebacker back to the defense. Then it's like, ooh, they're going to go Vita Vea to stop that inside. Now I'm full blown. If a quarterback's there, go ahead and take them because when are you going to get, for you, a Josh Allen, for me, a Josh Rosen, when are one of the Joshes just going to fall right into your lap? Another thing I want to hit is the Bills. We mentioned in the first segment, teams trading back. What are the odds the Bills trade up for a quarterback? Because today, there's a lot of people talking Bills to number 2 to take that giant pick and draft a quarterback at 2.
If I'm the Giants and the Bills are like, hey, we'll trade you these 2 first-round picks for your number 2, I'll say, we'll keep the number 2. You want Odell? I want 3 picks.
Apparently, sources say they're not going to trade him.
Yeah, I don't really know if I completely believe that they were ever even thinking about it. I think sometimes you just throw out a really high number just
to get
in
them to show up on time.
Yeah, right. Just to get them to show up and say, "Hey, we'll get rid of you." Anyways, for the Bills, I definitely think the Bills are a trade up potential. Now, for me, if you get through. If you get past the Broncos, and in my situation when 2 quarterbacks went, if I'm the Bills, I'm going to sit there and probably say, I might not need to trade up. Unless I really hate one of the guys that's left, I don't need to trade up. Because then you're saying, I don't want to be stuck. But if you're like, hey, Allen and Baker Mayfield, I like them both. I'm willing to have either one of them. Then you just sit and wait. Well, and if they're there.
And here's another thing that could play into it is, let's say a trade doesn't happen. And in my situation, you've got 4 quarterbacks off the board. Lamar Jackson would be the best one. And if I'm the Bills, I sat there because in my 7th round, I sat there and I went, if I'm the Bills, do I want a guy like Lamar Jackson just to say I took a quarterback in the first round? Or do I go with a guy like, to me, Josh Jackson, a guy like Vita Vea, a guy that can help me in a different situation, and then I can go and tackle that quarterback
make the rest of the team better
the next round because,
nobody's arguing that that Blake Bortles was a good quarterback in Jacksonville.
Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing with the Bills, and you said it before. You kind of said it like, "Holy crap!" So they trade Tyrod Taylor. So Nathan Peterman's your best quarterback. You were a 10-6.
Well, A.J. McCarron's probably the best quarterback.
That's right. A.J. McCarron, I forgot he signed there. But you were a 9-7 team. You did make the playoffs last year.
Well, they're 10-6, I think.
Here it says 9-7. I'm looking NFL.com. 10-6, 9-7. Point is you made the playoffs.
Yeah.
You want to get back to that point. Are you going to wait till the second round? Because, like, for me, I have a Mason Rudolph falling to the second round. To where, are you going to go with a Mason Rudolph? Are you going to try to get a guy later in the draft, like the kid out of Richmond, or I'm blanking on the other one, like the kid from Virginia that can go very late? Or are you going to say, I'm going to reach on Lamar Jackson just because we need a quarterback? And I'm saying reach only because I think most people have him second half of the draft.
Yeah. And it's one of those times, too, where we think back to, it's like Jake Locker and stuff like that. Guys who really shouldn't have gone in the first round, but people just wanted to grab quarterbacks.
So glad the Vikings didn't get him.
You wanted him, right?
The Vikings wanted him. Yeah. I wanted Colt McCoy that year.
Oh, that was a big fun
one. I wanted Colt McCoy. I'm glad we didn't go Colt McCoy. I mean, Christian Ponder wasn't much better, but I mean, I wanted Colt McCoy that year. I was all over
Christian Ponder got you to the playoffs.
Yeah, he did.
I mean,
Joe Webb also got us to the playoffs.
It wasn't really his getting you there, but he was there.
Remember, Joe Webb played a playoff game against the Packers.
I remember that very well.
But I mean, to me, that's what I think the Bills are going to be in. Is like if a Baker Mayfield's there, go ahead and take him. But I don't know if the fourth best quarterback is going to fall.
If I'm the Bills, I've done all my homework already, and I know what it's going to take to get me into the top 10. I might not have to pull the trigger, but I know what it's like. It's just one of those.
Really, it's the Jets or the Broncos, right? Maybe the Browns, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, you might be able to get the Colts to maybe trade down again. I don't really think so, but you might be able to get the Colts to trade down again.
True, I forgot Broncos don't have to go quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, they probably should, but they don't have to. The Bills are just in this weird situation where it's like, yes, nobody's arguing that Blake Bortles was a great quarterback last year, so you don't need it. You can maybe get by with A.J. McCarron.
And I'll be completely honest, in both of our situations, because both of us have the fourth best quarterback available at 8, I know this is talking about last segment, but if a Josh Rosen, a Josh Allen, a Baker Mayfield are there at 8, I'm the Bears. I'm picking up the phone. I'm calling Buffalo. Hey, what are you going to give us? We got Josh Rosen with your name on it.
Bears got enough needs that 12 is an okay spot to be in.
And that's another one where even a team like the Bears could trade back because it's like, oh, we can get a Josh Jackson there. We can get a Vita Vea there. We can get maybe a Marcus Davenport there for the pass rusher side, and maybe get some more later picks.
Probably, one of the linebackers are probably there.
Rashaan Evans.
So yeah, I mean, they could definitely do it. The Bills, I think,
Roquan Smith falls.
Yeah, I think if I'm understanding what a GM does on a daily basis, they have made calls to these teams just to see. Because that's the thing that
to test the waters.
Yeah, that's the thing that we don't necessarily, as fans, realize is that
kind of like Moneyball.
Yeah, these guys make phone calls all the time to just see what's going on. You might not even be interested in. Let's talk about Odell. You might not actually be interested in Odell, but you'll pick up the phone and say, what would happen if I wanted Odell?
Yeah.
You might not actually care. You might have zero intention of ever making that trade, but you just want to know.
That call could lead to you getting a trade for him.
Exactly. Or it might not even be that you want Odell, but
it could lead to you getting a trade for something else.
Exactly. And you might find out that if this is what they're valuing this guy at, well, maybe this other guy I want, or something like that, or it's just the flip side of maybe you find out some knowledge out of it.
And it's like, I know it's a movie, they got to make it entertaining, but it's kind of like Moneyball, where it's like, hey, we'll trade you this and that. Oh, I got to think about it. Puts him on hold. Guy from the Giants. What is he? Yeah, him.
Exactly.
What's his number? Giants gave me a better offer. Got to sweeten the pot. They do those things.
Yeah.
It's not as flashy as it was in Moneyball.
Even in the draft, like draft day, we never hear about half the trades that are offered.
I'm an NFL guy. The draft does not necessarily work how they portrayed it, Mark.
Yeah. No, I'm not talking about the movie. I'm saying like on the actual draft day. Yeah,
I thought you were going Costner on me
I
for a
love that
second.
movie. It's not accurate in the slightest bit, but I
He
like that
didn't read the
movie.
playbook, man. Why did anyone go to his birthday party? I'm still wondering why.
I mean, really. I mean, he didn't. He lied about the $20 or whatever it was. You're about to be a millionaire and you lie about $20. But anyways, when it comes to actual draft day, there are so many calls that are going out that you never hear about. It's just those behind the scenes things. It'd be so interesting
behind the green curtain.
Just to get one real draft documentary would be fun.
Last guy I want to ask you about. Derwin James.
Yeah, he's a tough
We both got him late. You have him at 14 to the Pack Attack. I got him at 17 to Bolt Up Nation in the LA Chargers. This is a prospect that confuses the hell out of me. Not necessarily what he is on the field, because I know that, but I just don't know where he's going to go.
It's difficult because...
I don't know. Could go 8 to the Bears, could go all the way to the Chargers.
If you're looking at safeties, well, Minkah Fitzpatrick is most likely your first guy.
Yeah, he's the top guy.
If you're looking at corner...
Well, because he's a hybrid, too.
Exactly. If you're looking at just defensive backs and you're willing to take a corner... Well, you probably do like maybe Josh Jackson, Denzel Ward. You probably like these guys. So Derwin James, just even though he's very talented and even though he deserves to be, I think he's top 10 talent. But it's just one of these things where there are so many other people, and it's the same thing with these 4 quarterbacks. If these 4 quarterbacks were not there, Derwin James will probably go in the top 10.
Let me put it this way, because I don't think he's going to go in the top 6. Starting at 7, Bucks, they could use a safety. But if Denzel Ward is there, I would take Denzel over Derwin James. Then the Bears, they could go safety. You know what? But if Tremaine Edmonds is there, that's more of a need for us. I go with Tremaine Edmonds, and I would value Edmonds over James. Then it's like the 49ers. We don't really need a safety. You've got the Raiders. We need a safety, but I value Roquan Smith and or Marcus Davenport above Derwin James. Don't have him going there. Then it's like, do the Dolphins really need a safety? Probably not that high. The Bills, they're probably going to trade up or draft a quarterback, so we're not going to go safety there as well. You've got the Raiders, they are Redskins, they could, but like if Vita Vea is there, I will take that over Derwin James. Then it's the Packers. They've got so many needs. Where do they go? He could go there. Cardinals probably go quarterback. Ravens probably go inside linebacker or wide receiver. And then the Chargers, although it's not a need, I think the Chargers would be like, we can't let this kid fall anymore and just take him.
Yeah, I mean, he's got places he could go. But like we both said, there are guys who I'd put above him.
Or does someone trade above into this range to say, you know what, screw it, we need the safety. We're going to trade up to go get him.
Someone could, but Derwin James is one of those guys where I think people are kind of expecting that he could fall. So teams might just sit and say, well, let's see what happens, instead of making that trade and using some of those extra picks to get him. It's difficult. There are good corners in this draft. I know he's not a corner, but there are good corners in this draft.
Defensive backs in general.
Yeah, you can make your defensive backfield better in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round. There's some good depth to it, where it might not be a Minkah Fitzpatrick, a Derwin James, something like that, but you can still make that team better.
Well, it's like you've got cornerback-wise, Carlton Davis could be a day 2, could be a day 2 guy. Isaiah Oliver, Colorado is a fringe 1-2. Dante Jackson, Mike Hughes from Central Florida, Anthony Alvarez. There are guys to where it's like, do I really need... And I know those are corners that I listed, even like safeties like a Ronnie Harrison, or it's like, I can probably get Ronnie Harrison later than what we have. Or like, I could get a Jesse Bates in the 2nd round, kid out of Wake Forest. Or it's like, do I really need to take this kid in the top 15? Do I really need to take Derwin James top 15? Or go with a different player that could help me in a different way.
Exactly. And it's just that tough balance. And a GM's got to think about with their scouts, where do we think that other teams are going to value people? And where do we think that this guy who they say he's a 2nd rounder, is he really a 2nd rounder? There's a lot of that type of stuff that goes into this, because it's not as simple as when you are thinking about, well, who do you want number 1 overall? I want this guy because he's the best.
Because it's not necessarily where NFL.com puts him. It's where that GM. If that GM goes, hey, you know what? Ronnie Harrison is a 1st-round talent to me. But you know what? I don't really like... But if we can get him in the 2nd,
Yeah.
First round talent. Second, do I have to take him this high? Like,
And that's exactly
the game
what it
you're
is.
playing.
And sometimes it might even be a fact that Derwin James is great. Mm-hmm. Or it could even be Minka Fitzpatrick is great. But there's not another good guard, so let me go with Quentin Nelson because there are other good safeties or other good defensive backs that I can take. Mm-hmm. And that's really what it comes down to where sometimes that's one thing there's no way around it, but one thing I don't like about the way the NFL draft works, day one, there are so many overreactions. People are like willing to fire their GMs right then on day one.
Yeah.
Then day two comes around and they're like, oh, we addressed those other needs. And it's like, yes, because it's a 3-day process.
Because there's more drafts. It's not like the NBA one where it's like, here's 2 rounds, it's all in one night.
Exactly.
Or like the MLB where it's like, I think the MLB does do 2 days, but most of theirs is I think it's one and
MLB
then
draft's
all
ridiculous.
Of it. Yeah, it is.
It's, don't think of it this way. It's your birthday and I give you a handlebar and say, there you go. The rest of the bike's coming later.
Is the NHL one in one day? Do they do...
NHL is one of those ridiculous ones as well. MLB and NHL are both crazy.
Yeah.
But it's because of the minor leagues.
So the NHL entry draft is a 2-day draft, June 22nd and 23rd this year. And then the MLB draft is a 3-day event, the 4th through the 6th this year.
Yeah.
But the MLB draft happens during the season.
Yeah, that's the weirdest thing about it. Is the fact that it happens during the season, and it has to. That it's just the way it lines up. But it's just
because it has to end when high school and college ends, so that you get the kid that's gonna.
The MLB is such a weird phenomenon to me, where like teams will draft people knowing there's a good chance they will never come play for your team.
Like Russell Wilson. Spring training was with the Yankees because he got traded to the Yankees.
Exactly. Like you will go ahead and draft someone that's like, I know this kid's going to go to college. I know he's going to play football. But we'll draft him anyways, just in case.
Like wasn't John Elway drafted by the Yankees? But he never went and played because that was
the threat. The threat was
if I go to whatever,
if the New York Giants draft me, I'm going to play baseball. And
was it the Giants?
It was scary. No, not sorry, not the Giants.
Was it the Buccaneers?
Who was it?
Was it the Buccaneers?
We'll look it up.
I think it was.
I love John Elway. I should know this.
It was that whole 30 for 30 on him.
Yeah, that's
not him, but it was Dan Marino.
Yeah.
But they had him. Let's see. That was the 1983 draft. I'm going to look who the top pick was. Baltimore Colts.
There you go.
Because the Colts took him and then traded him to Denver.
Yeah.
So it was if the Baltimore Colts draft
I was getting the Giants, Chargers, Eli, and Philip Rivers in my head.
Yeah. Well, there was an article today that had Eli's picture holding that Chargers jersey.
Well, he should hold that jersey up with a big old frown on his face.
But this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you think about our 11 through 21. Who did you like? Who did you didn't like? What did you think about your favorite team's pick for us in this mock draft?